Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on part 3 of making a VR space game in Unity. In the last video, what we did was we set up the planet's gravity and we made it so our astronaut automatically aligns with the surface of the planet. In this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding the spaceship so we can finally get to space. Alright, so what we're going to do is you're going to get the future shuttle model, just import it into, or just drag it into your project. You may need to change the size here. Just change the scale factor to 500 and that should be fine. And after you've done that, make sure to also, you have to make sure to have generate colliders, or actually since our space shuttle here, you can see that his z-axis is facing up, and we actually want the ship itself to be facing forward, you know, the same way as the ship. So in order to do that, we're gonna have to create an empty game object and just create it in the position of the ship, and reset the rotation to 0. Actually turn that 180 so that we don't have to turn the ship, and now it's facing forward with the ship. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move it into the center here, just so when we're rotating, it'll be rotating from somewhere right around there. That looks good. Alright, and then just drag your ship under that game object as a child, and just change its name to ship or something. Alright, and now we are going to go in our scripts folder, and here you'll find a script here called Space Shuttle. Go ahead and drag that onto the ship game object, and you'll see it automatically adds a rigid body. Take the gravity off the rigid body. Alright, and what we're going to want to do before we even start setting this up, we're going to have to add a collider on here. Just go to add a box collider, and then we'll just scale it a bit. And let's see here. Yeah, it looks a little off. Let's just move the shuttle itself and see how that works. Yeah, that's decent. We can move the ship up a little bit. Yeah, let's move the shuttle down just a little more. There we go, that's fine. Alright, now that we have that on there, let's go ahead and start filling this out. Here you can see we're going to need a canvas and a text. So let's go ahead and create a UI text, and that's automatically going to create the canvas for us. But first, let's go to our canvas and let's set the scaler to screen size, or scale with screen size. And then we want to make sure that the width and the height are scaling equally. Alright, and the text, we don't have to worry about what the text says. The script is actually going to cover that. So now that we have that there, just go ahead and fill in those blanks. Alright, that's good. Now we want to set the speed, and that's just going to be the force that's being added to our ship, and I'm going to set it to something like 150. And the rotation rate is going to just be the rotation rate, and it's not going to be the same as how we made our astronaut. We are going to be rotating with a Y, but instead we're going to have to rotate from, it's going to be adding a force from these positions here, from the front and the side. The front is going to control whether we move either on our Z axis or our Y axis, I believe it is. Well, it's going to be controlling whether we're moving up and down or left to right. And then the next one, the side game object here, which we should probably create now, is going to be controlling our rolling type movement. So let's create a game object, and let's call it front, and then let's create another game object, and then let's call it side. And go ahead and pull the side one out to about there, pass the wing a little bit maybe, should be fine. And then pull the front one out to the front. Alright. And now that that's there, let's go ahead and let's finish filling this out. The rotation rate, we can set that to something like maybe 10, or that might be a little high. How about like 5? The jet force doesn't have to be very high because our rigid body, we're not adding any mass to our rigid body, so the jet force could be probably the same thing that the astronaut is, which I believe is 0.05. 2.5. We'll just do it a little bit higher than that. Let's see here. We'll just do 0.5. And the velocity we actually don't need to mess with at all. That's just going to be our rigid body's velocity. So the side, we're going to fill that out. Put the side in there, in the front, and the player. And the range is just going to be the distance that the player is from this game object, so for him to be able to enter. So go ahead and change the range to somewhere around, I don't know, like 10, just so he'll be, I'd say the farthest he can go is probably, let's see here, probably somewhere around here maybe. Alright, and then components to disable are going to be the astronaut's components that we don't want to be working when we're flying. So what we're going to want to do first is let's lock this so that we can open another inspector. And then we can start adding components from one inspector to the other. So let's see here. Components to disable are going to be the astro controller and the astronaut's camera, and I think that should be fine. And then we're going to also want to make a new camera here, and then we're going to call it, or we don't actually need to really call it anything, just want to make sure it's a child of our ship. And then actually let's go ahead, let's take this inspector off, and then let's unlock that one. This is just going to be the camera viewing this ship. We don't really have to worry about this because in the next video we're going to start adding the VR. Alright, so now that we have that there, let's go ahead and click our ship again and just drag the camera into components to enable. And alright, well that should be working just fine. Let's go ahead and let's give it a try. Press spacebar to enter. Then we enter our ship, and you know what? It looks like our like we forgot to add one script to our space shuttle. The same script that we have on our astronaut, we need on our space shuttle, so it will align with the planet. So we're gonna set the planet there. We're gonna set the gravity to the same thing that the astronaut has. The smooth, we can have that at like 2 or something. And the minimum distance is going to be the same thing that the player has, which I think is 2250. Let me take a look again. Yeah, 2250. Alright, now it should be working just fine. Let's take a look. Alright, and let's go to it. Press spacebar to enter. And it seems that we're still able to rotate quite easily. Maybe we'll add like a some type of trigger or something, or a collision. If we're collided with a game object, then we shouldn't be able to rotate like this. So we'll just create it as a boolean or something. So let's actually go ahead and do that right now. Oh, and one more thing you can see here. Unity is complaining about there being 2 audio listeners. Just take the one off of the camera. We don't need it. Or off of the ship's camera. We don't need that one, because the only component that we're disabling on this camera is the camera, so the audio listener will still be working just fine. Alright, so now we're going to go into our ship shuttle, or space shuttle, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a boolean here. It doesn't need to be public, it's just going to be our grounded boolean. And we're just going to do the exact same thing. Oh, sorry about that. And then we're just going to do the exact same thing that we did when we entered a collision with our astronaut. So we're going to say void on collision enter. And then we're going to say collision. And then cool. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Whoops. And then if called game object grounded equals true. We're just gonna copy that, and then we're gonna paste it here. Change enter to exit, and grounded equals true to grounded equals false. Alright, so now that we have our boolean set up, we're going to change our rotation here. Let's go up to our let's see here, where was, oh actually it's up here on our fixed update, since we're actually using a force to turn instead of just the mouse's rotation. We're using a force. So let's go ahead and say if not grounded, then we can move with our mouse, and or we can move at all. I mean, we can still go forward and make our jets go up and down, but we don't want to be able to rotate, so let's just save that. Alright, and let's make sure there are no errors here. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's try that one more time. And let's go ahead and let's just, it looks like I'm getting a bunch of oh, you know what, I think I still have the mesh collider on here. Take this mesh collider off the ship. We don't need it because we have a mesh collider or we have a cube collider on here, box collider. Now let's try it again. Alright, and let's get over here and just enter our ship. And now you can see, actually I'm not, it's not saying I'm grounded. Let me see here. The ship is supposed to be if, let me put on debug here. Oh, there it goes. Now it's working. I guess I needed to float down first for a second. Oh no, it's still not working. Let's see here. Go into our debug. Let's take a look at our grounded boolean. And for some reason, it's telling me that I'm not grounded at all. So let's see here. What I said was on collision enter, grounded equals true. On collision exit, grounded equals false. So maybe we were never grounded in the first place. So let's set grounded to true first, because you need to enter the collision in order for it to become true. Alright, so now let's take a look at this while we try it. So grounded is true on there, you can see that. And now let me go ahead and jump in there. Grounded is still true, so I'm not moving around. And for some reason grounded is still true. It's supposed to be on collision exit, grounded is false. But for some reason grounded is staying true. Oh, it's because I didn't spell collision right on either of them. Oops. But at least you guys had that. Well, let's try that again. Last time, and it should be working. And then we can finally start adding our VR. Okay, so it's not moving on this mouse rotations at all. Grounded is done, and now it is. And then let's see what happens if we decide to land again. So let's press G for anchor. Actually, with this one, you're gonna have to make your own input. So here you can see in the script it says if you press jump, then it's gonna do the enter ship. If you press jump while you're in the ship, it's gonna get you out of the ship. And then let's see here, where is the other part? Anchor, here it is. If you press anchor, then it's gonna change the drag so you can stop. And you're just gonna have to go to edit, project settings, input, add another array element, and then just call it anchor, and make it whatever buttons you want, and make sure to include a joystick button because we're gonna be using a joystick when it's virtual reality. Alright. Well, thinking that's going to be the end of this video, and in the next video we're going to be working on how to get the VR into the game. Okay, I really appreciate you guys sticking through this with me, and don't forget to like and subscribe.